Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps. Today we're going to be talking about the country of Egypt, which in a population of over 77 million, 90% are Muslim. But the country also has one of the largest and oldest Christian communities in the Middle East. It traces its history back to Saint Mark, who first evangelized in Egypt in the 1st century. In fact, the church is often referred to as the Church of Saint Mark. There are three main groups, three main Christian communities in Egypt: the Coptic Orthodox, the Coptic Catholics, and the Coptic Evangelicals, or Protestant communities. To tell us more about the situation of Coptic Catholics in Egypt, it is my great privilege and pleasure to welcome to our studio today His Beatitude, Patriarch of the Coptic Catholic Church, Antonios Naguib. Your Beatitude, thank you for being here with us today.
It is my pleasure.
You were born in Minya in Egypt in 1935.
Right.
Did you come from a deep religious family?
Yes, indeed. We were in a city called Beni Suef and related to Minya, and the family was very near to the church and very close to the church, and I was used to go to the church for the mass, for all the celebrations from my small infancy with my parents and brothers and sisters.
What were the deepest values, or what were the most important values that your parents instilled in you as a child?
It was honesty, it was prayer, and it was to do our own duty in front of God, in front of the others, and to love one another, and also to be open to the others. In that time, the relations between neighbors, Christian, Muslims, all Christian from different churches, were very close.
You were ordained a priest at the age of 25,
Right.
which means you must have entered the seminary at a rather tender age.
Yes, I entered the seminary in the minor seminary at the age of 9. And then I continued my primary studies, and then also the maturitate, and then I had to decide during the time preparation for entering the university and leaving the priesthood vocation, or entering the seminary and the senior seminary in order to study philosophy, theology, and prepare myself for the ordination, priesthood ordination. And in this stage, my parents left me completely free.
They didn't persuade or dissuade in any way.
They always told me, if you want to go to the university, we will pay your studies. But it is up to you. It is up to you in front of God.
As the Patriarch of the Coptic Catholic Church, many Coptic Catholics in Egypt would see you almost as a pope, if we could make that comparison. I don't know, how do you see your role?
So we can say yes and not. Yes, from the point of view that the Patriarch in each Oriental church is the head of this church. But in the Catholic Oriental Church, so we are united with Rome, and this means that we are not the last authority, but we follow also the hierarchy of the Pope of Rome. They belong to the Catholic Roman Church, and in this meaning, we can say that we are a pope of our churches. We are the head of the church, yes, but not the last authority.
How do you see your role in Egypt?
We have the Patriarch of the Coptic Catholic Church had three roles in Egypt. First of all, he is the head of the Coptic Catholic Church with its different dioceses. We have 7 dioceses, and have the role of coordinating and animating the church, the Coptic Catholic Church, and then also speaking in its name and giving the basic orientations, and all that is done together with all the other bishops, because our churches, the Oriental churches, are synodal churches. This means that they work together, all the bishops together. This is the first rule. The second rule, that he is also the bishop of the diocese of the Patriarchal Diocese of Alexandria, which has 3 parts, areas: Cairo, Delta, and Alexandria. Third rule, he is also the president of the Catholic hierarchy of the patriarchs and the bishops in Egypt.
Many Coptic Catholics have a small tattoo inscribed on the inside of the wrist. What is the meaning of the symbolism of this small tattoo?
The meaning is a belonging to the Christianity. It is not only the Coptic Catholic, but all the Christians, and I can say mostly the Orthodox, but many also of the Catholic. It is a sign of belonging to the Christianity and a way to declare their Christian identity and also to recognize one another.
You don't have one?
I personally don't have one, because usually it is a family tradition. And in our family, our tradition was to belong to the church as an active member, more than by a visible sign.
The Coptic Catholic community is very much a minority church within the country. What is it like, the daily life of Coptic or Catholic Christians in Egypt?
From the point of view of religion practice, each church has its locals for worshiping and activities, and there everybody is free. And each church and the community has its activities, its cult and worshiping and everything with no restriction and no problem, no conflict. And then in the social life, all the Christians are integrated in the social life. We do not have special areas. There are very, very few villages where there are only Christians, very few. Usually they are inserted in the midst of the population, and they live with the people, they are there with the people. There can be from time to time some conflict, but this happens also with different neighbors anywhere. And when you are a minority, certainly there is also a small difficulty to deal with the majority. And it depends of how is everybody. We try to become close and near, open to the other. Sometime and many times we find also from the other side, from the side of the Muslims also, the same
openness.
Also, yes, aptitude. And you know, as it happens everywhere, some units and some persons and some groups are a bit aggressive.
Although generally the situation for Christians in Egypt is not an easy one, in the sense, for example, officially within the constitution, there is religious liberty. However, Egypt is an Islamic state, and if I understand correctly, the Sharia is the source of all legislation.
Principal source, yes.
Which means that in many regards, Christians encounter a number of obstacles in living their faith. What kind of challenges do Christians face in Egypt, particularly in this environment?
As I said, everything depends on the personal behavior and mentality of the persons. When we meet a person who is open-minded and has the heart also open to the others, the relations are very easy and good. Sometimes we meet also others do not have the same dispositions, and the relations can become a bit difficult and if there are some applications on some practices in the administration, you can also meet some difficulties. But usually, you always arrive and succeed to resolve everything, because our Oriental culture, not only Egyptian, but the Oriental culture in general, depends on the personal relations. And you will always find somebody who will help you and with whom you have some relation of friendship, who will bring you to resolve your problem and to have what you need.
But nonetheless, there are some, let's say, obstacles. For example, the fact that it is very difficult, if not impossible, for the church to build new churches.
Yes, this is difficult.
This, I believe, stems from a very old law.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit about this law?
Yes, this law was in the end of the 18th century, and it was during the Ottoman Empire and thing, and it was the interpretation is different. Some say that the main aim of this law was to protect Christians about any aggression, so that if you fulfill the conditions of this law, you are in security. So this gives a security and a protection to the Christians. Some others say this was to make obstacle and the difficulties to the Christians to have locals for worshipping and activities. You can choose the one or the other. And when we argue with the authorities, they also say it is for your protection. We say that it gives us some difficulties. And also in this field, we have, yes, difficulties, and it takes a lot of time to have a local of worship, or a reparation, also a local or maintaining, and a lot of time and a lot of also procedures. But with the time, we always arrive also to resolve this very important and sensitive problem.
What about in political life? For example, no Christian can be the president. There are only two Christians out of the entire government, or within the government. Christians are not allowed to be mayors of cities or of villages. How do Christians fare in their representation?
I would say that it is like this due to different factors. First of all, in the political life, when there are elections, for instance, when you take for each 10 Egyptian, 1 Christian, do you believe that a Christian will have enough voices to be elected as a member of the assembly? That's why the president nominates always between 4 to 6, 7 Christian persons to be members in the assembly, in order to give them also a place in the assembly to the Christians. And then, as a member of the administration, for instance, the government, also I think, as you know, there are no elections, there are nominations. So those nominations are also to give a symbolic chance in the presence to the Christians to be there. Another thing is the local administrations. For instance, a sheriff or the chief of a governor, for instance, or of a village. Also usually there are no Christians. And it is becoming a tradition.
It is not something that the church is fighting for greater political representation.
To say the truth, in the Christian papers, they write about that. And actually, they are some voices of intellectual Muslims who write and ask for that. And also in the Organization for the Human Rights in Egypt, they also call for that. So there is the voice, and there is a call and appeal for that, and there is also the socio-religious pressure.
In Egypt, one is obliged to carry an identity card on which one's religious affiliation is indicated. Is this, or can one say this is also a tool of discrimination? For example, if a Christian applies for an employment which is obligatory, the Christian must show his identity card and on which the religious affinity is indicated. Can one say this is also used as a tool of discrimination?
This also is discussed, and it is publicly discussed now. And also, in the last month, there were many articles in the ordinary papers written about that. And they were articles written by Christians and written by Muslims, and there are two directions. One, and the interpretation say that this is a kind of discrimination, and other say that it is necessary for the social life. And they give the example of the tribunals for the process of family process, marriage, divorce, and things like that. And they say that if it was not written, how could the judge give a sentence according to the law of each one? He would always judge according to the Islamic law. But in this field and sector, the Egyptian law said that each one had to be judged and follow his own religious law. So they say in this way, we will not give divorce to Catholics, for instance, because the religious law does not allow it. And for Orthodox, they have only some cases in which they can have the divorce. Okay, the judge, and usually judges are Muslims, follow this. And so this is also a way to give an interpretation. But many say that it would be much better to have only the basis of the citizenship and to leave this question of marriages to the religious communities.
Are there conversions from Christianity to Islam?
Some, yes.
Why?
Different reasons.
There is an allegation or a suggestion that some conversions are based out of economic reason or economic interest, that, as we spoke about earlier, because of the difficulty of Christians to get employment because of their identity card, that for reasons of employment and the high unemployment, I believe in Egypt is about 10%, it is interesting for a Christian to convert to the Muslim faith for employment opportunities. Is this something that you would be aware of, or?
There are some cases, but I will not agree to say that it is the principal ground and reason. I think that there are two principal reasons. One can come from the part of the marriage. The easiest way to come out of a relation for Christians, for one or the other of the partners, the man or the woman, is to become Muslim. They got divorced. And then they have all the rights toward the other part.
And for the children.
And for the children too, yes. Second reason comes from the weakness of the faith and also the lack of good formation of our Christian in their religion and faith. There are some regions, some villages, some quarters in the great city where there is not enough pastoral care. And those in confrontation with the Islamic appeal and the Islamic also, we can say also this preaching in the media continuously, they are influenced. And they can follow. And if they are encouraged, they have nothing strong in their heart. They help them to stay fast in their faith.
One area where the Catholic Church is working particularly well is in the areas of schooling.
Right, yeah.
How do you see the importance of education for the future of Christianity in Egypt?
The Catholic schools, we have 186 Catholic schools in the country with more than 150,000 students, between which about at least 50% Muslims. So you can understand the importance of such an educational field. First of all, it gives to our people the security to have a good and a solid religious formation and education and a good standard of study and of moral education. Second, it gives also the chance of bringing together Muslims and Christians to live together from their small infancy. They grow together, they know the one the other, they become friends. The parents also know the Christianity, the Christian church, Catholic church, but the Christianity in general, and they appreciate it very much. And between those parents or those students, men and women, who became after that people with a responsibility in the society, we always find people who understand the Christianity not as faith, but who respect Christians, who want to help Christians, and who are very, very open, and also who help us when we have problems.
So education, Catholic education, one could say, is key to a moderation of the political landscape in the future.
Moderation and also interreligious dialogue. Very important.
Your Beatitude, what would be your appeal now to the international community?
To the international community, I would say that we appreciate very much what is done in order to improve everywhere democracy, liberty, and to help also to improve the economic situation of our countries. I speak about Egypt in a particular way, and in the religious field, I would say, we are very grateful for the community, spiritual community of prayer, of interest, of sharing also our difficulties, and also for the help that it given to our churches, to our institution, in order also to do the mission we try to accomplish in the country, not only for the Christians, but for everybody. And it is also an opportunity for me to thank all the organization here, Aid to the Church in Need, and all the other Catholic organizations for their support and their help.
Your Beatitude. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time that you've given, and especially in view of the weight of the responsibilities on your shoulders.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on our program. And if you'd like to know how you can help the situation of Catholics in Egypt, I'd encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Where God Weeps.